Thank you, Brian. It is always amazing to be here. I love MRC. It's such a great conference, so smart, the dealers, the vendors, and just also such interesting conversations. We learned so much here, and I speak, for the whole Fullpath team that every single conference that we come to, we
How we doing, guys?
Hello.
How's your conversations? Good.
Hot mic. There we go. Okay. We always walk away with feature ideas because it's just such a great content. And today I'm going to talk about data ups, and I want to give a conceptual frame that I hope will be extremely practical for all of you. Meaning, you can walk out, you can go home, you can go back to your dealership, and you can unlock essentially predictable revenue. You can unlock the ability to decide, I need to make a certain amount of sales this month, and okay, no problem. I just do what I need to do, what we're going to talk about, and I can actually literally find those sales, those ROs, whatever I need to do. And the seed of this presentation and this concept actually came from a conversation with a dealer from Detroit, a friend. Some of you here know him, Stephen Gabara of Zott Ford. Melissa and I spent some time chatting with Stephen and may have been there during this conversation. Stephen was sitting there, I don't know, it was one morning, and I was chatting with him, as we do, spend time every week speaking to dealers. And Stephen said, some mornings, I wake up in the morning, I know what I need to hit for my month at my Ford dealership, and I just wish I could hold up my phone and say, hey Siri, I'll pick a model. Hey Siri, I need 5 people who will buy an F-150 Lightning today, okay? Just give me that. Give me the 5 names. Automatic, pull it out, I call those people, I sell a car. Okay, that'd be very nice, right? That'd be a wonderful thing to do. Some models more than others. And it occurred to me in that conversation, or occurred to us, there were a few of us, that actually that is totally possible. Meaning there's nothing difficult about what he's asking for. He can't ask Siri for that information, but Stephen and Zott Ford and others who've done the work to connect their data ecosystem and have a CDP installed could fully ask their CDP that question and find an answer of really probably 5, 10, 15 people who are highly likely to buy that car who are not currently a lead, okay? And this actually speaks, I think, to moments where you sometimes don't realize the treasure that you have in your own universe, right? We often look far afield for things. The grass is always greener. We're always chasing treasure somewhere else. But it turns out if you think about a dealership, okay, under the waterline of your CRM, your DMS, you have, in many cases, tens and certainly, in many cases, hundreds and certainly tens of thousands of data points about people that you can uncover and unlock once you have connected your data, okay? And this changes everything, and it can be a transformative for your dealership. Literally can lead to as many more sales and ROs as you would like to see over the course of a month. And I think that this is the moment to sort of zoom out and imagine, like, from first principles, what's actually happening in a store. And then I'm gonna come back to the data up. A random Tuesday at a car dealership. You walk into the dealership. What are you gonna see? I don't know, it's 10:45 in the morning. If I walk in, I'm a Martian, I show up from space, I walk into the dealership, what am I probably looking around and seeing happening? Anyone? Okay, people looking at their cell phones. What else? Are they looking at, like, sales opportunities on their cell phone? Not likely, okay. Other ideas? Right, a lot of computers, a lot of people sitting around, people maybe standing at a desk talking. And when I first came into the auto industry, I was a Martian. I'd never been in the auto business before, and this is back in 2016, 2017. I actually found it like crazy that I would walk into car dealerships and I would look around, and back then Candy Crush was like a big thing, and I would just see people like playing Candy Crush or sitting around and talking. Not everybody, but it was this kind of weird feeling for me because I was like, okay, in most businesses I know, and definitely in our business, because we don't get any walk-ins, right? In our business, there's no such thing as just sitting around during free time and looking at your phone. Like, I mean, you may do that if you want to catch up, but most of the time, you're working to be outbound. You're working to get in touch with people. You're working to be proactive rather than just reactive. And there's something ingrained in auto that you don't see until you kind of step back and say, wow, this is actually true, where the lead philosophy is entirely reactive, okay? On the sales side, what happens? Marketing goes out there. Marketing is a lot of work. They bring in leads, and you have ups, right? Even the name, the up, the concept of the up from the old days of just getting up when someone comes in, right? It's a reactive approach. Who's the next person up? So you have your phone up, you have your forum up, your internet up, and then you're going to get your showroom drive-by up, which is, of course, had nothing to do with marketing. It just fell out of the sky, right? This philosophy of ups, which is entirely dependent on inbound opportunities, right, generated by marketing or by luck or by whatever it might be, is extremely limiting. If you think about it, when we look at the data, most dealerships, as Brian talked about earlier, have something on the order, again, I'm averaging, so your store could be below or above, significantly above, significantly below, will have something like 700 or 800 shoppers on their site who are behaving like buyers. They're really serious. And you know what? You've probably emailed them. You've probably done, if you're using a tool like, some of the tools in this room, a tool like Fullpath, you've probably done really smart SMSs to them, drawing on CRM information with ChatGPT, or you've probably done an email campaign, or maybe you've dropped a direct mail, and they're right there, but they're not raising their hand. They're just not saying, hey, call me. And some of the people who are saying, call me, maybe they're not as qualified of a lead, but those shoppers are right there beneath the surface, and the passive approach that we take to those shoppers is truly a loss of opportunity, which is why we think it's really critical for every dealership to take back to their store the concept of data ups, meaning not every up is going to be a walk-in, an internet, or a phone. Or again, as we know, there's some loyalty work, right? You'll always see someone working on loyalty, which are maybe doing something in the service lane. But fundamentally, the data that you have can generate for you a fourth category of up. And I'm not calling it a lead deliberately because, as Brian pointed out, we don't want to get confused. It's a sales opportunity. It's not a lead. They didn't raise their hand. It's staggering the extent to which this can change your business. Okay, so we've been working with dealers now, using some new stuff that we developed over the past while, to have the dealers proactively reach out to people who are showing high shopping behavior. Okay, how do you know it's high shopping behavior? They come and look at the website. They might engage with a GPT SMS, but not be asked to make an appointment. They might open an email. They might come back a few times, whatever. We'll look at it in a minute. But that population of your overall shopper base is equivalent to all of your internet ups in any given month, okay? Every single dealership can just zoom out and unlock that 39% pie. In your store, it'll be 15%, 40%, 55%, whatever it is. It's a tremendous amount of high intent shoppers who are very much looking for a vehicle and are probably gonna buy with you or with a competitor within the next few months. And if you can get to them and engage them, and you can activate maybe the unused time of some of your sales force, right? I know everyone's like, never gonna happen, we'll talk about that. If you can activate some of that time, you can suddenly be talking to a really rich pool, a rich vein of sales, and you can literally ask Siri, give me 5 people who are gonna buy an F-150, right? And it'll happen. I want to spend a moment thinking about the difference here between leads and what we're calling data ups. Data ups are not leads. They're not hand raisers. And by the way, we try really hard to make them hand raisers, right? All the marketing automation, CDP, outreach companies here are spending every possible bit and byte to turn someone into a hand raiser. But some people don't raise their hand. And there we find that there's opportunities to engage them proactively through phone calls, through other messages, through highly personalized stuff that can bring them into the door, and you can get those folks to speak with you. So let's take a look at a couple leads. This is based on an actual dealership. I took 3 leads, and then after that, you'll see I took 3 data ups. And here's an example. One of the leads changes his name, Adam Parker. Adam viewed 2 VDPs. He then filled out a trade-in form. Our scoring system put him pretty low for various reasons. We didn't think that he was at a high intent point, but sure enough, he's a lead, so the BDC is going to call him back. Wasn't particularly ready. He was just kind of shopping trades, which happens all the time on your websites, right? All the time people are just using your websites to shop trades. So here's a lead. This is getting huge priority at your dealership, and people reached out. Naya Wright clicked on an ad. There was a conversion on a chat, good conversation. Got a little bit of a higher shopping score. And then Max Hutchinson, who opened one email, converted on a trade-in, great, became a lead. Now, I took from the same dealership, and by the way, so who are they spending their time on? They're spending it on those 3 people. I then went to the same dealership and I put in a couple queries, and I started to pull interesting people who did not become a lead that month. And here's what I found. Okay, 3 people. Kristen Smith, again, change the name. Kristen, this is a person who was not a lead. They clicked on an ad. They came in through a Google search ad. Actually, a model-specific Google search ad was phenomenal. They saw 10 VDPs, 4 emails, former VDPs, and they chatted on the website but didn't provide their PII. They didn't provide their information. This David Jones was 5 VDPs, 5 emails, and he actually replied to a GPT SMS, but he had a question. It was a very simple question about a vehicle. It wasn't a lead kind of motion, right? And then Alan Watts opened 4 emails, replied to email, replied to SMS, viewed 2 VDPs. The dealership had not reached out to any of these people. Why? Because they weren't leads. They weren't an up. They weren't a showroom up, a phone up, or an internet up, right? Who here can identify with this in your store? I imagine most people here are sitting on, or don't realize it, but probably if you're here, you do realize it and you want to exploit it. You're sitting on a pile of gold that is in this category of data up, and if you can figure out how to work it and how to unlock it, it will drive huge amounts of business into your store very quickly, meaning time to value on this strategy is tomorrow or next week. So, what was that? So again, when you look at these, it gets very interesting. Now, let's talk for a minute about what it takes to work data ups, and then we're going to talk about some of the infrastructure you need to put this into place. I actually want to first show a few examples. So in our CDP, we provide like a query engine where you can go in and build all sorts of audiences and look at different things. Then you can choose to activate or not. It's very interesting just to see how much value is in there. So Ilana, if you flip over for a minute to the CDP. So this is our CDP. And I just did, while during the coffee break, I built 4 audiences, okay? If you could hover, Ilana, over the first one, and hover on the black, on the bold, on the left, there, right there, perfect. All right, excuse my informal writing here. So I just put into our filters, find me anyone with a sale that was 36 months back, who'd been on the website with an SRP, been on an SRP or a VDP in the past 60 days, with no sales lead in the last six months. We following that? It's a little complicated. I basically said people had not bought a car in a long time, but were browsing and had not put in a sales lead. Now, this is a demo account, but it's loosely based on the data that we get from real dealers' accounts, so we know the numbers. This particular dealership that I was playing with had 435 shoppers that matched that category. Very interesting list, right? The next one, if you could hover, customers who have a last payment within 6 months and have visited the website and viewed VDPs in the past 60 days and have a marketing engagement score of 8+, plus no sale 1 year, no sales lead 6 months. Okay, I built that while we were doing the coffee break. And sure enough, I got 403 shoppers. Now, I'll point out here that the filters are endless, right? And this is one of the challenges we're going to talk about, right? Because who's going to sit there and do this at your dealership, right? We'll get to that in a minute. We'll look at 2 more. This was a fun one that I just did using our filters. Sales, which are up there, any dealer can do it. Sales between 5 and 2 years ago, high monthly payment, meaning I wanted a monthly payment greater than $700. No sales lead 6 months, good opportunity for refinancing. I was writing my own notes as I did that, right? How many were there? There were 1,082 shoppers, okay? Who were not sales leads. These people have not put in a lead in 6 months. They're not active at your dealership right now. And then there was some other fun ones. Silverado shoppers past 60 days, high marketing score. Now, what's this marketing score? Most CDPs, I assume, I mean, I know ours and I know the ones from outside of auto, use marketing scores. HubSpot kind of pioneered this, where the more activities a person takes, the hotter they get in the score, and it allows you to do some nice filtering and whatnot. You can build your own marketing score. You could say what you care about, but most CDPs have this, and it allows you to kind of cut data in certain ways. Now, what's interesting here, first of all, is if you go up, Ilana, many CDPs, ours included, are going to be suggesting audiences to you. This is a demo account, so it's not sophisticated. Those suggested audiences are data ups. They're opportunities for you to make sales that are not currently in your lead flow. And if you go here to activate over there, right? Again, imagine you're using the folks that Brian was talking about today, and you say, okay, I want to activate this audience, right? You can click with whatever, with our tool. It's now analyzing what's the hygiene, who has a healthy email addresses, who does it. Next, let's do a SMS. Just put in something test, Ilana. Selling a car to someone, okay. SMS, sales leads, next. Boom, generate some text, Ilana. Hit generate. Send yourself a preview, fire it off. Email campaign out to 1,000 people. SMS campaign. You could also do email. You could also do advertising audience, website. This is the power of taking the data up strategy and then connecting it to activation channels. Now, the weird thing here, we've probably SMS'd or emailed all these people, right? They just aren't responding. So this may be futile, may not be futile. Make it personalized, make it interesting. You're all very creative. Do it better than GPT. But you can also print this list out and start calling them. You can also create special experiences for these people when they visit your website next. You can truly activate the data ups as a source of immediate sales. And frankly, calling them works really well. What works a little less well still is voice AI, which we're also playing with, but it will work really well one day. You can get on the phone, you can call these folks when your salespeople have time, they're able to do it. Okay, so we have this concept of data ups, and we know the value of them. I'm gonna talk about how you set yourself up for this and then how to make it all easier. Now, I will note, most systems of marketing automation that are working with CDPs, they do a certain baseline of audiences automatically, right? So we have right now 45 audiences on sales, and then we have like 29 audiences on service. Some CDPs probably have more audiences. We auto-generate those, then we suggest ones for you to look at. But what's so crazy is to watch dealers dream up unbelievable audiences. And by the way, sometimes they're extreme. A dealer who sometimes shows up here, I won't mention his name, he's not here right now, he did all known shoppers who've never bought a car. It was 123,000 people. He SMS'd every single one of them, and he sold like 30 cars within like a week. So I don't know if Brian Pash would recommend that, but that was a strategy that I saw that was interesting. Okay, Ilana, if you'll go back for a minute to the deck, what we can see here is that the data up requires someone to actually sit there and kind of do the research, or to be the receptor or the hub of handling the data ups. So those of you who have a dealership that are thinking about how you make data more important and more strategic, you're gonna have to either settle for the automations we provide, or you're gonna have to hire a data person, someone who's a little bit trained in how to build queries. Again, it's not rocket science, but it's still a thing. And who can sit there and come up with these ideas, or at least receive the ideas that are coming from the automated system and say, oh, I like this, I don't like this, let's try this, let's not. It's not so different than the skills that go into loyalty, right? Those loyalty folks at dealerships are unbelievable. What they do with Auto Alert, what they do with Revenue Radar, they're incredible. And that type of approach can now be leveraged on all your data when you have a properly set up CDP. The other thing you have to do, and this is the challenge in many cases, is you need either one or two people to pioneer the script. You cannot call a data up and say, hey, Ashlyn, I saw that you were on my website, and I want to talk with you about this, your equity position, which I see we have a payment that could be really good for you. Your loan is coming due in 3 weeks. Whoa, total creep out zone. Still, even in 2024, 25, still creep out zone. What you can do is call up Ashlyn and say, hey, Ashlyn, I saw, by the way, nice to connect with you. I'm just calling some of our customers. I see you own a 2022, whatever it might be. I'm looking for that car right now, and I know that I can get you into a 2025 at this rate. can we have a conversation about that? Do you want to maybe stop in? They will absolutely appreciate and respect that script. Another script is just a check-in, right? You have to change the script to fit the category of ups. It's different. Again, this is friction, but it's friction with a massive payoff. If you do it right, you will print more sales and more ROs every single time. It just works every single time. Dealers make a lot more when they start to work in their data ups. To set this up, how do we do it? And again, I think it's very important when talking about our advanced technology to be as practical as possible, because I think sometimes you see these advanced implementations, and then you go back to your office, and there's like 5,000 things going on, and you have to actually deliver something. I want to give you something that you can actually do. So the first thing is setting up your data. Now, if you don't do the work here, you're not going to be able to get to data ups as easily. You can get to data ups. You could go into your CRM. You could start querying. You can kind of say, all right, I don't have a pixel to see what they're doing on the web or in the email, but I'll at least take it from the CRM. I'll go look for people that maybe look good. Some of the CRMs do have a recent web history. At least I've seen it once or twice. You could go to your DMS and try to again, some loyalty is a form of a data up, right? But really you have to make the investment, and it pains me to say it, you have to make the investment in setting up some way to connect the different silos of your data, at least a few of them. And I'm not going to be a maximalist, meaning I think maximalism is great if you can deliver on it, and it's good that the bar gets set here very high to do it maximally. It's very unlikely that you're going to have perfectly hygiene data. It's very unlikely that you're going to have perfectly synced data. It's very unlikely that you're going to have access to every single endemic. You should try to work with Steve at Clairvoy and get that access. You should try to work with Experian or with Polk or with TransUnion to get it. But you can already start right away once you get a basic CDP set up. Now, again, CDP is a buzzword right now in auto. Really, CDPs are primarily for the activation. No one really wants a CDP for CDP's sake, right? It's not interesting. You want a CDP so you can do things with it, so you can activate with it, right? And it's nice to have it as an independent entity so you can work with different vendors. But once you set up that CDP and you're connecting things, you're suddenly able to look at least the following three things, right? You want to connect your DMS, your CRM, and your website and your email. So it's 4 things. Okay, those 4 things are really, really important. And when you do those 4 things, and in particular, when you start to send email that has in it the ability to send a signal back to the CDP and kind of link it all up together, you will start to see opportunities to attack it, to go after the data up channel, right? So you'll suddenly see, hey, that person in my CRM who's just a dead file in my CRM was literally shopping 2 days ago, and a week ago as well, and guess what? They were on email and actually clicked on an ad. That's amazing information. You now have a data strategy. You have a data advantage that you can leverage to get that shopper who's better than all the leads that your BDC is calling to come in to the store. So the first thing is you need to have the CDP, and then the next thing is really to try to work with audiences. So I started to play with them live, which Ilana was kind enough to click through. Most CDPs will set up audiences, but you also know audiences. It's very important, though, to get the right audiences, because some audiences convert at a very high rate, some convert at a very low rate. Now, every CDP will come with some amount of audiences out of the box. It's great to work with a CDP where you have the ability to freely construct audiences, because you're going to come up with really creative things. These are just some of the ones that we came up with. I'm not going to go into all of them, but what I will say is that these micro audiences, right? Sometimes you get an audience that's only 15 or 12 people, but if you can convert 4 of them, a salesperson can convert 4 of them, that's a phenomenal audience. So the micro audiences are actually really valuable, and in modern CDPs, you should be able to build a micro audience in 5 seconds, right? Dream it up, you should be able to build it. You want to look at body class, if I drop down our filters. You want to do electrification level, body class, zip code of the shopper. You want to look at APR. You want to look at all their loan information. You want to look at equity position. You want to look at whether they engaged with email or didn't engage with email. Do they have a phone number? Do they not have a phone number? So you could do some data enrichment stuff, do what they call zero-party data, get them to fill out their own information. You could really do whatever you want once you have a proper CDP with it organized. And I think here the trick is for all of you buying CDPs to really just think about what's your kind of time to value profile, because it can be very complicated to set this stuff up. It can also be very simple. And you have to decide, okay, what are you looking for? What are you trying to get to? Set it up, and then you can start filtering and start looking for things and just dream up audiences and start to, see if those audiences are being engaged by your marketing automation automatically. If they're not, you can then generate your own custom campaigns. And you can also start to give your teams people to call that maybe are affiliated with a particularly good special that you have this month. And then while they're sitting there, instead of on their cell phones doing that, they'll be, apropos the regulations we heard, on some sort of dealership phone making phone calls. This type of engagement will lead to tremendous opportunity, and it will lead to real sales. I'm going to pause here for 1 second on any questions, and then I'm going to just talk a little bit about where things are going. Any questions on this at this point? Thoughts? Is anyone doing a data up strategy here? You are? How are you doing it? Oh, with us? All right. Sorry. Bright lights. Under the bright lights.
What we're finding, and I love the fact you call it data up and that you're not calling them leads, but we're finding general managers or people's pay plans that are based on lead conversion, they don't know what to do with them. They may recognize that the data up is a real person, but if you're doubling the number of
Yes.
so if you throw them in, then their closing percentage looks like shit, and they walk out the door. I love the fact that you're calling it up, and they do need a different script, a different approach. But as an industry, we're going to have to figure out how we adjust pay plans, training, and mindset, because it's best for the dealer in the long run, but it's disruptive in current pay plans. Would everyone in this room agree that for your store, dealing with data ups could create some havoc on pay plans?
Is anyone here familiar with the famous Federal Express case study that Charlie Munger talks about? Raise your hand if you are. Okay, so there's this great case study where Charlie Munger, who's from Berkshire Hathaway, worked with Warren Buffett famously for many years. He pointed, I guess, to a case study that he was involved in where FedEx was facing a huge problem. Every night, FedEx packaging sorting centers would get hundreds of thousands of packages, and they would have to sort them that night to provide the FedEx promise of delivering it really quickly. And no matter what, no matter how many things they tried, they could not deliver on sorting fast enough. And every morning, they would finish their shift, and there'd be tons of stuff. They'd have to get paid overtime, et cetera, et cetera. And people tried I think Charlie Munger called it moral suasion, right? They tried to persuade them, say, hey, let's rally for the team. We got to do it. They tried to, bring in pizza. They tried to make it fun, et cetera, et cetera. And at some point, I guess it was Charlie Munger, he said, what's their pay plan? And the people they're paid hourly. He's like, let's shift it to pay them by the shift. They can go home as soon as they finish all the work for the shift. And that solved everything, meaning they had a shift, 8 hours. As soon as all the packages were sorted, you're done. You're going to get paid the same amount. Things got taken care of. So I agree with what Brian pointed out. I'll tell you what we've done in dealerships we've partnered with is try to create centers of excellence or little hubs or islands within the dealership. I'm working with a dealership right now, a few dealerships where we're taking specific salespeople or specific BDC people, and we're turning them into those evangelists for this particular approach. And they are in a different framework that the dealership's aware of, they're aware of it, and it affords us an opportunity to experiment. Now, who knows where this will go? Because as some of you have probably played with, right, there are now pretty impressive voice GPT bots, right? So let's say I've tried everything. I've SMS'd, I've done personalized SMS, automated. I've done personalized automated email. I've done special web advertising audiences on my CDP. I've created special flows on my website, and nothing's driving that person that raised their hand. I now want someone to call and try to reach them, because it actually works. I could have a GPT bot call, right? And that's definitely coming. It's in fact being tested by a lot of companies. We're very interested in it. It's still not there right now, in my opinion, but some people think it is. Realistically, what's going to happen is, and I can show this live to anyone who comes to our booth. I'm happy to show you some agents. What's going to happen now is that dealers are going to begin hiring agents. Okay, a company came to us. We're a technology company, and they offered for us to hire. They're an HR company for AI agents for programmers. I think I talked about this in a previous thing, right? It was crazy. Like, okay, you pay them hourly, these agents, and they write code for you, right? They're treated like employees, essentially. So it's very clear that the AI bots, the AI intelligences that we can run on our substrates, which are all of our dealer tech systems, are going to be good enough at picking out the very best opportunities and enable you to not have to go through all the others, okay? So I think one of the solutions that will have to be here for data ups to be unleashed and unlocked is to enable these AI bots to really prepare the opportunity properly for the salesperson so that, or for the BDC person, so that when they call, the script is ready, it's the best possible opportunity from all the data ups right now, right? Think about a force rank, and they're gonna get the best shot at engaging that person with the right message at the right time in their activating. So that's one thing that is going to happen. The other thing that's gonna happen, I think, is that these AI agents are gonna identify segment opportunities that no one even dreamed up. And I'm saying this because it's actually, we're seeing it, right? We'll tell the agents we build, hey, we wanna find people who will buy F-150s or whatever. It's really interesting who they come back with. It's not always who you would think. And if they have the ability to run on your whole data set, and they can actually look at like obscure, interesting things that might be in the CDP, which is aggregating a lot of the data of the dealership, they may see opportunities for sales and patterns that are really interesting and really unique, and those bots are able to do that and are able to unlock that and start to do that work. They might give you a segment and say, hey, here's a direct mail segment that you should probably go after. Here, let's do it. Let's make your mail for you and let's get it out the door, right? Because you're connected to all the APIs. Let's do that for SMS. Let's do that for what we call VIN acceleration. What most people would know is like a lot link style approach for aging inventory or whatever it might be, right? So the more that we see dealers hiring and activating these agents as like their workforce for the data mining, the data activation, it becomes very economical. And I'll give you an example. I spoke to a dealer yesterday, or excuse me, what felt like yesterday, a couple days ago, because I've been traveling. And I said, I have this agent that we just built that's really good at mining sales opportunities. I want to unleash him on your CDP. And every day, he's going to deliver this dedicated person at your store 15 opportunities, not leads, opportunities, data ups, okay? So he looked at me right away. He's like, okay, you're going to pay, so you're now going to charge me for access to my own data. We're going backwards in the way that we want to be doing things, and I'm not happy with that. I said, no, I'm not charging you for access. I'm charging you for labor, because you have access. You can go and hire someone who can sit there and run all those queries or deal with the incoming stuff, but I have literally a worker who can go do that for you, and it costs money to do compute and all that stuff. Someone has to pay for that, right? And they will deliver it to you with everything packaged up, the script, the messaging, the talk points, the deal, the payments, et cetera. And then I asked him a question. I said, well, let me ask you something. You run Google advertising, okay? What percentage of your Google leads and your Facebook leads, let's expand it, actually become good sales ops? Not sales, sales opportunities. I don't know, someone guess. What percentage would you say of your Google conversions become good sales opportunities? Someone? What'd you say, 15? Less than 2%, okay, so less than 2%, all right? I was gonna be generous and say 10, 15. Let's say it's 10, 15%. And I said, what's your cost per lead? Let's say it's $30, okay? So I was saying, so basically you're telling me that you would rather pay Google and Facebook. So basically what it came down to was that to make 10 sales or whatever it is, he would have to get 300 leads, right? So it was very expensive. Said you're gonna pay Google and Facebook to bring you these subpar leads from out there in the internet who frankly are already in your CDP, are already in your data ecosystem. You've already pixeled them. You just don't know it, and you have no way to talk to them. So you have to go to Google and Facebook. You have to pay them. Sorry, Google and Facebook, if you're here. You have to. We do this too. We work with Google and Facebook. You have to pay them $30 a lead, of which only 2%, 10%, 15%, I don't care, 30% turn into sales. When I can go to your vast database, and I can point to you, I can point at 700 people for $5 a lead, or an opportunity, $13 an opportunity, whatever it is, it's less than what you're paying Google for a sales opportunity, and I can give those to you in your hand and you can go after them. You're telling me that's not economical? And if you start to visualize it, it's like dealers are out in the street with big signs saying, come buy a car at my store, when right behind them there's tons of people in their store looking, they're just on a different plane of existence, they're ghosts, right? The CDPs give you glasses to see the ghosts, and you could see them, and they're there, and they're actually shopping, and all you need to do is find that way to connect. The script is the bridge, the phone is the bridge, whatever the bridge is, and then suddenly you have a whole new population of shoppers. It's extremely powerful and extremely valuable. So with that, I'm basically going to make the case that we're kind of at the point where there's still a little CDP confusion, but CDPs are becoming table stakes, and it's all now about the activation, the AI, how the CDP plugs into other stuff, as we heard in the wonderful panel that was up here earlier. And that's where things are going to go, and that's where some of these AI agents are going to have tremendous opportunity to be transformative to your business, because you're going to be able to hire them to take the ghosts and turn them into actual buyers that want to do business with you. Thank you. We have a few minutes for questions,
yes.
as Brian would say.
Well, yeah. Aharon, first of all, I want you to remember this day, because I don't think I've seen this term data up. Has anybody seen that term before? I haven't heard. I think this is a profound statement, because we really need to understand the difference between leads and opportunities, these data ups. It's what CDPs are really built to do. I love the ghosts. I want you to, if you had to bring back some visuals, the challenge will be, if there's no leadership in the dealership to handle these data ups, there'll be problems.
Yeah.
And that's where the AI agents come in. I will say that even my work, there's so much untapped potential, because having the data doesn't mean you know what's the best car to recommend, or what's the best payment, or when their deal is due for renewal. So I totally agree with your vision that the CDP will eventually be table stakes, even though it's so new. Dealers will need to figure out what to do with opportunities, and for the most part, they're going to have to rely on automation to give those very best opportunities and surface them up. I'm seeing this now. When you give all opportunities to salespeople, they revolt. And they should. But honestly, without those AI agents, we are going to flood them and discourage them, and we surely don't want to discourage people.
What we're seeing now is marketers are already able to take advantage of this new set of tools that are built on top of a good unified data set. It's still very challenging for the sales enablement side.
Yes.
And so I think the frontier is going to move from marketing. We're still working on it, and it's still important, it's happening. But the frontier is going to move to the sales enablement, because there's a lot to do there, and where there's a lot to do, eventually solutions find their way.
Right. How about questions for Aharon? If you didn't realize, this was a very, very important transitional presentation, because this is the first time I'm seeing a solution to that sales enablement piece, and where we have to go. Any questions from the floor? Well, then, would you give Aharon a big round of applause for his presentation?